Duke basketball and the Brotherhood continues to leave their mark on the NBA. Last night, Duke adds another first-round draft pick to the record books. Let's have fun on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. It's so great to have you here with us on Thursday, June 27th, 2024. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop for everything going on in the life of Duke athletics, where we discuss all of the biggest news and notes. A lot of talk about Duke basketball, and that's the case once again here today, as last night we saw the 2024 NBA draft. The first round came and went, and Jared McCain heard his name called. He was drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers right outside the lottery with the 16th overall pick. Kyle Filipowski unfortunately falls out of the first round, does not get selected. He's expected to be selected a little bit later today in the second round. Again, this is the first year that the NBA has divided the first and second round into different days, and so we'll discuss that with our pal Josh Cox on today's show. We'll talk a little bit more about J.J. Redick being named the head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers, and who knows what other Duke conversations we'll get into in the world of basketball here on today's episode. Again, if you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free wherever it is that you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review. We're on X at LO_ Blue Devils. And I'm on X as well at _JJ_Jackson_. Also, make sure you watch our show daily on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button to our YouTube channel. And also make sure that you like this video, share it with your friends. Continue to comment down below your thoughts about Duke basketball. Love being interactive on the YouTube platform. So without further ado, really excited to welcome him on in. Josh Cox is here with us on today's show. Josh, it's great to see you as always, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. Stayed up last night to watch the entire first round of that draft. And I think as all Duke fans, we're hoping to have the second player drafted in the first round. Didn't happen. But yeah, excited for the offseason, and NBA, college basketball all comes together at the draft. And so it was very interesting last night for sure.
Yeah, we love this. We love this time of year. The NBA, of course, puts a lot into the draft night and the events that unfold. It's on two different networks, and the fact that they've got an ESPN broadcast and an ABC broadcast and the exact same event going on as they do with the NFL draft and things like that. A lot of eyeballs on it. However, for the first time, it's separated. There's going to be more picks set to be announced a little bit later today. What are your thoughts on kind of that decision to break it up, Josh?
Yeah, I don't mind it at all because, when both rounds were on the same night, that made for a really, really long night. And by the time that second round hit, honestly, most casual fans probably checked out. And so I think you have a chance of kind of reeling that fan in, at least following it, this afternoon. I think it starts at 4 p.m. Eastern. So a little bit of a different time slot there. But it'll be interesting to see. Just kind of a crazy draft, to be honest with you, though, wasn't it? I mean, the nation of France is celebrating this morning. Like they took over the first round.
Yeah, they did.
It's kind of very interesting to see. I'm sure some Hornets fans have their opinions of the direction they went. As I saw,
boy, do we? Yeah, yeah, really interesting first round. And again, it's interesting the decisions that were made, and we'll see kind of how this plays out in the days in the years to come with the NBA draft kind of splitting it up in different nights. So we saw Jared McCain get selected 16th overall by the Philadelphia 76ers. He's drafted. His family, so emotional, so excited for him. Then you see him walk over and he gives Kyle Filipowski a hug in the green room. John Shire and Chris Carrawell are there from the Duke coaching staff. So just before we even get to a team fit or anything like that, man, hey, Jared McCain came into Duke last season, as one of the top freshmen and turned himself into a first-round draft pick after 1 year of college ball.
And came in as a highly talented freshman, but not as a one and done. He was not going to be that guy necessarily. That wasn't the plan, and he played his way into that spot. So kudos to him. I mean, this is a hard worker. It's anyone that covered Duke basketball this year knows after every home game, Jared McCain will be back out on the court. Him and TJ Power after every single home game, getting shots up. Even after a hard fought game for Jared, where he may have played 30 plus minutes in the game. So he's a hard working kid. The story with his brother Jace, another really feel good story there. Of course Jared has his haters, which is fine, whatever. But I've not seen a kid play basketball at a high level at Duke with so much joy. Win, loss, didn't matter. He kept his joy throughout the whole season. So I was so pumped for him, his family, especially his brother, and getting drafted 16th to a contender, which is also really cool.
Yeah, so the 76ers make the selection. They make the call. They want to add Jared McCain to the fold. They've already got, of course, Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid are their big names on their roster. And adding a little bit of shooting helps every single team out there. And for Jared McCain, who's obviously a great outside shooter, that's something that can be easily transferable to the next level. In some ways, you think it might be a little bit easier for him to get an early playing time opportunities just because of what he's going to be asked to do and his ability to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the Sixers tried to add shooting this past season with Buddy Hield, and Buddy just kind of fell off the face of the earth, especially in the playoffs. He was nowhere to be found. And so, they're trying to address that. And I think Jared helps. Obviously they're building that team around, I think they're really building the team around Tyrese Maxey. I think they don't know long-term what Joel Embiid is going to do there in Philly. And so I think they're really focusing on Tyrese Maxey. I think he and Jared McCain's games can complement each other very well. And so, I love the fit for him. The Philly fans, we know, it's well known they are some of the most passionate fans in sports. And so Jared will get a successful Jared McCain will be a Philly fan favorite, right? And then I'm assuming any player that's ever played in Philly is you're going to get your fair share of negativity, but the positivity, should outweigh it. So I'm looking forward to seeing Jared. The good thing about it, man, is being drafted to a team that is a playoff team, that is a contender in the East. I mean, that's fortunate, man. A lot of these guys, and it was spoken about last night. A lot of these guys, that especially come to Duke or Kansas or UNC, those teams with the pedigree, they haven't lost. They haven't lost much in high school, haven't lost much in college, and then they get drafted, by the Hornets, or they get drafted, by a team that's just going to struggle, right? And wherever they are, whatever it is, and so I think for Jared, man, it's really cool. He can kind of keep that winning vibe, right, that he's had throughout his high school career, college career, and now translate directly into the pros. And so I love the pick for the Sixers. Love the fit for McCain. Thought maybe if he didn't get picked there at 16, that he was going to get picked at 17 by the Lakers. Thought it was weird that Dalton Knecht dropped. Would have never thought that Jared would have been drafted over Dalton Knecht. But that's the way it works on draft night. You never know.
Here we are. All right, let's continue this discussion after we take our first time out here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. A lot more thoughts from draft night 2024 regarding those Duke Blue Devils. We'll be back in just a moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Gametime. Gametime is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer to first pitch that it gets. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guaranteed, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. All-in pricing again, where you can toggle this feature, showing the total up front so you get no surprise fees at checkout. The seat views ahead of time are awesome, where you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. and it's the lowest price guarantee. Your Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Game Time, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. We keep running forward. Josh Cox here with us. We're talking a little bit more about the NBA draft. An awesome selection for the Philadelphia 76ers, taking Jared McCain. You talked a little bit about the fit. You talked about going to a winning team already that could just so much help your transformation to the next level of basketball. Talked about it a little bit last night, even too, in the Duke circle, that Derek Lively II literally just benefited this a year ago, right? How successful of a rookie year would he have had if he weren't selected to the Dallas Mavericks, an organization set up to make it successful for him with the awesome guard play that they've got in Luka and Kyrie Irving, throwing him lobs at the rim and that sort of thing. So sometimes the fit can really help how quickly you can find success at the next level.
Well, listen, I mean, we could talk about this in multiple sports too, JJ. I mean, you think about, QB busts, right? Guys that were drafted early that everyone thought were going to be franchise quarterbacks. And when you look at the situation that they were put in, oftentimes a different offensive coordinator every season for their first 3 years, no weapons to throw to, a terrible offensive line, fill in the blank. In football, I think we see it all the time. It's like, that just wasn't the right fit, or he should have been able to sit on the bench for a year or two and learn the offense or learn how to play in the NFL, those types of things. So I think it's very important in basketball as well. Derek Lively is an obvious, choice for that. I mean, when he was drafted last season, I mean, it was like the potential is there for this to be a very good thing for Derek Lively. And then it played itself out, on the court where we saw it happen in real time. And so that's the advantage of going mid to late first round, right? I mean, you do get a chance to be on a team where you can instantly, provide something on a winning in a winning organization. And so I love it. I also love the fact that Nick Nurse is the coach there. I think Jared's game will vibe with him. Nurse is kind of that, he loves the shooting. Nurse is a international. He loves the international style of play, kind of. I think Jared's game fits that. And so I think that's a good thing for Jared. And then, I love the Duke connection there with Elton Brand as the GM, ultimately helping make that final call on who to draft. And listen, I mean, I am sure that as they sat there in that room, knowing they had targeted Jared McCain, I'm sure there was some second guessing when Dalton Knecht was still out there. Yeah. There has to be. And so they stuck to their guns on who they wanted at 16. And so kudos to them. I think it's a great fit. And like you said, I think Jared is set up in the system. I mean, he's going to have to improve his defense. Someone was texting me about him last night, a guy that doesn't necessarily know Jared too well. He's a Sixers fan. And he texted me last night. And I said, he has shades of Seth Curry, but I believe he's a better defender. And so, I think that's the style of player you're going to get, a guy that can lock down a little bit better than Seth could, but a guy that can shoot the basketball. He's got a quicker release probably than Seth at this point in his career that Seth had as a rookie coming out. Definitely think he has the potential to be better than Seth, of course. So it's kind of a player comp that I had coming out of Duke at least.
Great pick for the Sixers to take McCain. Great comp there as well. There was a clip in the green room area, the red carpet, before we get rocking and rolling. They're doing interviews. They're passing mini mics around to all of these players. Jared McCain's talking about, I love Duke with all my heart, and truly had fallen in love with the place over a year, and Duke fans are really going to miss him. And then to your point, it's a Duke general manager now and Elton Brand who makes the call. Jared McCain walks across the green room, hugs his coaches, hugs a teammate from Duke, walks onto the stage. It's a Duke guy and NBA commissioner, Adam Silver. I mean, the Duke haters had to love those moments there. All right, let's get to Filipowski. He falls out of the first round, not selected. And here's what's interesting now with this change. Now for the second round, a little bit later today, ESPN and the draft are moving to just kind of a TV studio setup. This is quite strange because there are several players who had received the green room invites, and now you got to hate it for them, Josh, because they've experienced the draft one way their entire night, and now they're not necessarily going to get that moment of walking across the stage to shake the commissioner's hand.
Right. And the contract structure is different, from first round to second round. And there's a lot of things that are different. There's no really way of sugarcoating it, right? It's disappointing for Filipowski. It's disappointing for those other players who were still in the green room. I will give, at least I was watching the ESPN broadcast last night. I will give them credit. I did not feel like that they focused on the players that were in the green room. They weren't always putting the screens on them, which in years past in all sports has kind of been like that, and it turns into like an embarrassment for them and their families and friends. I thought they did a good job of that, of keeping the dignity of those guys. But yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, Filipowski was brought into the green room for a reason. I don't think anybody tried to do anything to any of those guys. I think the NBA thought they were going to be first round picks. I mean, they did. I mean, if you look at mock drafts, all leading up to the draft, you saw Filipowski, many of them being picked by the Knicks in that 25, 26 area.
Yeah.
That was confusing. 24, 25, 26. The Knicks were all around in there, trading and keeping whatever those picks were.
Yeah.
That's where kind of he was. Now, so I hated it for him. Like you said, you have an expectation. You see teammates and friends and people you've competed against, going and getting their chance to shake Adam Silver's hand on the stage on opening night of the draft, and you're not going to be able to do it. And so we could talk a little bit about why we think he didn't go, but it's unfortunate that he didn't for him, obviously, as a Duke guy that we're pulling for.
One more note just on the decision to kind of switch this up. Now I wonder, okay, again, you're sending these invites out. Guys aren't getting the opportunity on draft night to walk across the stage and be selected. You're going to go into a studio setup, and we still have to watch this unfold a little bit later to see. The ratings haven't always been the best, Josh, and going into the second round a little bit later today, I think the NBA and ESPN are kind of saved by someone by the name of Bronny James, right? That's really, really going to help their ratings going into the second round. But in the years to come, I don't know that there's going to be a player that has the ability, if he's not a top pick, to carry the momentum on into the second day, right? And so then I think the ratings will just continue to be horrible if this format is one to stay.
Yeah, I would agree with you because, I mean, your momentum, quote unquote, is by someone descending in the draft, not by someone ascending, right? So your selling point is a disappointment from the previous night.
Yeah.
And so even if you have even if let's say something crazy like Connect would have dropped all the way out, the storyline is still the disappointment of Dalton Connect not getting drafted in the first round.
Right.
So it's a negative. It's a negative connotation. And so yeah, you're right. It's really a no-win for the league. But who knows? Maybe they'll see some ratings or something spike, whether online or watching, whatever it may be. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the second round this year is going to get rescued by the Bronny James questions, and will he get drafted? Who will get him? Bill Simmons had this diabolical plan that he thought the Celtics ought to draft him at number 30 and hold him hostage, which I thought was pretty funny, just as a middle finger to the Lakers organization. But anyway, yeah. So for Filipowski though, JJ, I understand the mock drafts. I understand, maybe the whispering around the GMs or whatever that they're looking at him. We watched him for 2 seasons.
Yep.
We also saw his numbers at the combine, which were under par for him, and honestly for the other guys that were there. I mean, he tested low.
Yeah.
At the combine, and so I'm not surprised that he's dropped to the second round. I'm really not in any way, and I'm pulling for the guy.
Yeah,
but I'm not surprised that he dropped, and he's got some elements to his game that he's going to have to prove, that he can play at the next level and be can be a guy that sticks around on a team. And so I'm not surprised. Will this put a chip on the shoulder? You're absolutely right. It will. I think he'll come into camp hungry, ready to prove himself, because his ego got a hit last night for sure.
Yep. No, I think a lot about the mock drafts that we're talking about, and we mentioned a little bit earlier this week and towards the end of last week that things were unfortunately trending in this direction as a possibility. Right at the end of the season, he's still kind of right on the outside of the lottery. And then as the days and weeks go by, the months go by, getting closer to the draft, Kyle Filipowski starts to slide a little bit. The Knicks had those picks, 24, 25, 26 area. I saw a lot of Filipowski mocked to the Nuggets at 28 to be Nikola Jokic backup. And when those things don't happen, the draft is over in the first round all of a sudden. And Filipowski falls to the second round. The shooting numbers weren't elite this season, right? We talked about that a lot. The free throw numbers alone were really, really disappointing down the stretch. But look, it's a young career ahead for Kyle Filipowski, and still plenty of reasons to be optimistic. But if there are Duke fans out there trying to figure out, okay, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Maybe that's a little bit of context to help them answer those questions.
Yeah, and as people who followed Flip's career for 2 years at Duke, I just hope that he becomes happy, man. Like the exact thing I said about Jared McCain, where it didn't matter what happened. Jared had joy, man. Jared had a smile on his face. Flip really struggled with that, man. And like, I just want to see that guy happy. I want to see him, no matter what. Like, I want to see him enjoy what he's doing. I mean, you're a professional basketball player. Like, you know what I mean? Like, put it in perspective and like realize how privileged that you are to be in that position, no matter where you land, and then take full advantage of it and play with an amount of happiness and joy that you ought to play with. And so I hope he can find that, because he struggled to find it for 2 seasons at Duke. There's no question.
All right, let's take one more break, and then we'll start to wrap up today's episode after this quick timeout here on Locked On Blue Devils. Got to tell you this, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On. Plus, our national shows are covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today, make that your second listen here today, right after this episode of Locked On Blue Devils. We'll keep rolling. I've got Josh Cox here with me from Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast. He does a lot of basketball work with Duke Report. He's all over the place, Josh. What do you want to tell the good people that you're up to these days? What can they go do to support you?
Yeah, basketball-wise, we're at Duke Report with Freddie Hodges. Shout out to Freddie. And yeah, covering Duke basketball there. And the off-season, whatever we can learn and find out about Duke basketball, we'll bring to you there. Obviously, looking forward to the Olympics. Going to have, let's see, at least Jason Tatum, right, in the Olympics. And so looking forward to seeing how the U.S. team does there. And I think it starts at the end of July.
That's right.
So that'll have a little something to talk about, a little something to look forward to.
Grant Hill now calling the shots for USA.
Exactly. Duke's just woven everywhere, man. It's all over the place. Jack White's on the Australian team.
Yep.
We know that for sure. So anyway, but yeah, man, that's Duke Report is where you can find all our stuff for basketball. So, and then that Josh McCox on Twitter as well.
Yeah, you'll see all this stuff over there. So check it all out. All right, last thing, got 2 or 3, 4 minutes left in our conversation today here, Josh. So talking about J.J. Redick, now the head coach of the LA Lakers. He was our favorite podcaster shared between you and I, and we're not the only people that were in that boat. He was a lot of people's absolute favorite Duke basketball player as the all-time leading scorer, had the crazy run in his NBA career of making the playoffs every single season. And now, earlier this week, when he celebrates his 40th birthday, on that very day, he's named the head coach of the LA Lakers.
Yeah, pretty crazy run, right? A pretty wild ascension into the coaching ranks for JJ. Obviously he's been in the podcast space for years, all the way back to, I believe he started out as a Yahoo podcast way back in the day. And that's before anybody was doing anything in this. And so, as a player, he did that. And then, kind of moved up. And then the big jump was Mind the Game and bringing LeBron, with him and talking about the ins and outs and the X's and O's of the game. And what you saw there, if you paid attention to those episodes, was you saw two guys who thought about the game in a very similar way. You would see JJ begin a sentence and LeBron interject and close the sentence. And so I'm not in any way insinuating that JJ is like a pawn of LeBron. I think JJ's too smart of a guy to be that. But I do think it's important for the obvious locker room leader and the head coach to have a similar philosophy. I think it's a good thing. And so I like that. According to what Rob Pelinka and LeBron and JJ said, LeBron really took a back seat. In fact, Anthony Davis was more involved in this than LeBron was, as far as the search and talks. And JJ spoke to Anthony Davis more than he spoke to LeBron about it. So I love it for JJ. It's high risk. I get it. I understand everybody out there that's like, he's a pawn. He's gonna get fired in 2 years, just like Darvin Ham. Okay, I understand all the risks. I also trust JJ's decision making, and I trust his career path. And so, if he feels like this is the way he wants to get into coaching, then I'm all for him. Now, I am lamenting the fact that the old man in the three, shout out Tommy Alter, is going to go away. I am lamenting that. Mind the Game was fun and awesome, but the OG there, old man in the three, is what we'll miss. And then I think it is actually really funny. I think we have to be able to laugh about a little bit of this when they posted the graphic of his head coaching experience, and it was the 4th grade team at the Brooklyn Basketball Academy. So he coaches his son Knox and Kai. That's his head coaching experience right now. So I love it, man. I'm excited for JJ. And look, all the more reason to follow another aspect of the NBA if you're a Duke guy.
We love it. We love it. Good stuff, and excited to see what the Lakers do. Josh, it's great stuff from you here on today's show. We'll see what happens with Filipowski a little bit later today in the NBA draft. We've got Duke practice scrimmage footage that's already been released. Duke football right around the corner. So I've got plenty of reasons to get you back on here very soon. So thanks for the time here today, man, and we'll chat here in the near future, okay?
JJ, I appreciate it. Make sure the next time Jordan Mann comes on, you ask him about this Frenchman that the Hornets drafted. He's excited. He's ecstatic about the pick.
You're not kidding. All right, Josh, we'll see you, man.
Have a good one, man.
All right, that's Josh Cox joining us here on today's show, and that wraps up another episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Thanks, as always, for your support. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Go support Josh and his buddies with the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast. Leave them some nice reviews as well. That'll do it. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.